Hey guys, so this is part 3. We're going to work on some bass in this track, but a couple little organizational things that I wanted to take care of. So I dragged these over to the end. They were right after the drums. And what I'm going to do is, now that we have the audio versions of the drums, except for the kick rack, which I'm going to keep, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this frozen track here, and I'm going to go into the song file, going to add a new folder, and I'll just call this song parts, and then I'm going to drag this over into that folder. Cool. So then I'll just let it go, and since there's a lot of samples, this might take a little bit of time, but it'll be worthwhile. So I'll come back when this is finished. Alright, so now we've got this part in here, and anytime we want to, we can go ahead and drag it back into the track. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete this. That'll save a lot of CPU. And also it'll force us to work with what we got. If I wanted to, I could just drag this back into the project if I wanted to unfreeze it and then tweak it some more. Now that I've done that, let's go ahead and drag all these drum parts back in. And I'll pop this over here. Awesome. And now we're going to get into the drums. So let's go ahead and drag in. I mean, not drums, sorry, bass. So let's start. I'm going to drag in. I'll just drag in the operator sub. And I'm going to drag in the sampler bass. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is kind of work on the sub, and right now you'll see this is opening the samples from the bass. There's a lot of samples involved in that instrument. Alright, so let me arm the sub. I'm just going to rename this sub. And we'll play the part, and I'm going to kind of work out what kind of sub part I want. I'm going to bring the drums down a little bit so I'm not like cranking the volumes too much. Simple. Take a look at I like that the best. Might just want to do, I'm going to do a couple. And I'll just play it in, so. that there. Let me grab all these and drag it on the line. Oop. Just going to hit the left arrow key on my keyboard. Good, and it's got that kind of human feel because I played it by hand. I think I'm going to speed the song up a little bit too. And I'm going to bring these loops down, so I'm going to highlight all of them. Just bring this down just a little bit. Changes the vibe. And I'm going to double the length here. I'm just going to highlight and duplicate. And it looks like it's a little bit off, so I'll just highlight those and line them up. And the last one I'm going to just a little lift. Actually, I'm going to make this 4 bars. Go. Let me see if I can get this. I'm going to go into this instrument here. And I'm going to turn up the velocity, sensitivity, so I can kind of make it a little more dynamic. So let's put that up about 70%. This one here, I'll do the same thing. There we go. You can kind of hear that bump at the end. Good. So that's kind of a basis for the sub. And now let's get into the bass. And what I'll actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the sub, copy and paste it. That way we're already starting on the same note, and then I can just kind of tweak it. Alright, so I think that sounds kind of cool. I might use it, I might not, but I'm going to copy and paste this. Oh, let me actually get rid of this here, and I'll just copy this in. And I'm kind of curious what it'll sound like an octave higher. See what those sound like together. Let me copy this back over to here. Turn that off. Okay, I'm going to set the release time on this a little. Little LFO rate. Let me add a utility here. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an EQ 8 and I'm just going to drop some of the sub frequencies because I don't want it fighting with the sub. And I'm going to try to take that wide. So I'm going to do another one of these simple delay tricks here. Set the time down. Set this all the way down to 1. Set this to 15. Set the wet all the way up. Feedback down. Now I've got a wider sound. And actually, I'm going to set the utility here. I don't really want it quite as wide. Okay, cool. So I've got that. And then what I'm going to do is I'll copy this original part too. Might as well change the color so I can keep track of what's going on. Duplicate these here. Oh. So we'll see if I want to keep that or not. I think it sounds pretty cool, but we'll see. I could always use that in a break or whatever. That's kind of more droney, a little more hypnotic. Well, both of them are kind of hypnotic, so. And with this, I can tweak around with it as well. Nice pitch envelope. Yeah. I don't know about that. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to duplicate this track. And I'll go ahead and set these an octave higher. So I'll hit Command A. Then hold down Shift and push the up arrow key. Brings it to the next octave. And I'll do the same thing over here. And this one here, I'll push a little further on the FM. Set the rate a little bit different. And I can add just a little bit of saturation here. Just add a little bit more dirt to it. Just supposed to be a little subtle. Let's kind of there we go. I might like the sub staying the same. Okay, so I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. I'm just going to stick with that. Bass doesn't need to be overly complex for too many songs. So I'm going to stick with that. And now let me just try to get the most out of the drums and everything. Let's get this mix tightened up a little bit. Kind of like that subtlety. Yeah, I think that kick was doing a little too much. I'm going to bring that back a little bit. Get this track sounding kind of bassy. I think that's fine without compression. Let me turn the reverbs on here. Just give a little bit of air. There we go, very subtle. Okay, that'll do it for today.